Good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, good morning, good morning. Now, the email I sent out this morning has a link to a YouTube video. It's about, I think, like 14, maybe 14 and a half minutes. Now, it's a compilation of a couple of calls that I've had with our head tech and a call with one of our rhinos that I just happened to be on. Like, I still take calls, but I always preface it by saying, I will always be there if it's urgent. In lieu of being urgent, I beg that you just give me time. So there is that. Hey, so I see someone that I have a call with tonight, right? So I'm always there. I'm never not there. I don't ever want that to be misunderstood. So that being said, so it's a compilation of a couple of things, like a video that I've had with our tech, as well as with one of our rhinos. Now, of course, all my calls are recorded. I record them and I save them, and maybe at a later date I need them. Kind of like the NSA, right? Like I record everything, but I don't actually ever feel like I need them. But if I do, I do. And when I was trying to come up with, like, how do you explain TED, right? And when I have the opportunity to speak with our tech, again, he works for Rhino. And again, we're all partners. There's no boss, there's no, whatever, but we all play our roles quite well. And like I have shared, when it comes to our tech team, they kind of are behind a Chinese wall, and not purposely, but just that's where they want to be. Like there's only one Anthony, for better or worse, right? Like there might be different variations of people that might remind you. Maybe there's people crazier, maybe there's people less crazy. I don't know, but there's only one of me. Meaning, any team that I have is not a whole bunch of Anthony's. It's Anthony, and then there's a team that happens to appreciate Anthony, in which case everyone knows their role. It's like, okay, that's Anthony. He's going to go off. He's going to be like, it's almost like as he's talking, he's thinking out loud. So he's just thinking out loud. And being allowed to be in that role allows me to think out loud, because those calls don't have a time limit. They're not like our calls, which everyone here knows I think out loud all the time, but there is more of the people I'm speaking to are in position that they're taking notes and they can facilitate some stuff. And at the same time, they can tell me what can be done and what can't be done. So it's brainstorming. Like when I'm with you, I'm maybe dreaming out loud, thinking out loud, guiding where we're going. When I'm with them, I'm brainstorming out loud and they kind of rein me in. Okay, Ant, we can't do that, but I see what you're talking about here and we could, so it's just different. In which case, I wanted to go through those videos because I believe that in those videos, there's quite a couple of examples where it's like, I had that moment where it's like, oh my God, only if I could package that and share it. So the point of the story being, I'm working on this really short, kind of playful, fifth grader type of book. Maybe 3,000 words, 4,000 words, maybe 2 or 3 chapters. Nothing too much. In fact, I used to work with Ricky Mateka, love him to death, and my next sentence is nothing that I haven't said to his face. Rick, your emails are so long. Who in their right mind would read all of this? Well, you'd be surprised, a lot of people do. He's successful, God bless. There's a seat for every butt, or butt for every seat, whatever that saying is. But his emails were regularly over 2,000-3,000 words. So when I say book, I'm not talking about something that's like, well, I can't believe you came up with that. In fact, it could almost be like, what were those lead magnets? Like, get our free course or whatever nonsense. And it derives its theme from the scene in Aladdin, where Aladdin meets the genie, and the genie tells him who he is, what he can do. In that exact fashion, that's Ted talking to Anthony. I don't know if I'm actually going to leave my name in it, but I think I will. So I'm starring in our own book, right? Like super cool. But it's in that conversation that Ted wows him with what he can do, the world he can create, and then contrast it against the world that will be created in lieu of Ted. Because the interesting thing about Ted is, yeah, Ted's a name, but it represents something far larger. It represents, this is our solution to the inevitability of what we're coming forward with, and that's the rise of AI. And that's not to be confused with like Rise of the Machines and Terminator 2, which really does have quite a Venn diagram overlap. But the technology is not going to be harnessed. It's not going to be like, okay, everyone, let's all agree this technology is too strong, everyone stop. No. So there will be a lot of proliferation with how it's built, and the goal, or I guess the winner, is who can build it and create the structure that is most widely accepted, that it becomes the base case for all other things to be compared, right? So that's how everything in life is. Like, you had the best burger ever, and you're like, okay, I compare all burgers to that burger. You had the best girlfriend, the best boyfriend, the best car, the best anything, and you compare everything against that for the rest of your life. It becomes your base case. There is no AI base case. It doesn't exist. There is no consumable mass populace base case. So everyone's left with their fears and their vision, which kind of creates the combination of the Wild West and the gold rush, right? So you want to walk that line and be the person there. Now, what makes this great is it's now March 18th. It's not like we're just having this like little podcast and we're talking about, well, you know what we thought of today? No, our patent has its flag in the ground back in November last year. Think about that. 5 months ago, we already saw what we're talking about today. Doesn't mean we want pats on the back, but it means that there is nothing that we're talking about today where it's like, okay, Ant, great idea, but I saw this, I saw this, I saw that. No, we have the claim. It's ours. We're going to be able to build it. If anyone builds it in competition to us, well, guess what, buddy? See you later, right? So our conversation today is the comprehensive approach to continuing the dialogue that allows us to make sure that we put our best foot forward. Okay, so that's what that book is going to be. Now, getting back to the video that I sent, I wanted to be able to share with everyone the 3 prongs, like the trinity of TED, which is TED, and then the universal basic income and the full guaranteed employment. And these prongs, how they all support each other. The goal being that I'm too far in the forest, right? Like, I can't see the whole forest. I see the forest that I look at, which is actually, I don't even know if that's correct, because like the idea is so big, I do see the whole forest, but maybe it's that I'm speaking my own language. For instance, I'm so well versed in TED that it is its own language. It's my language. I know TED language, and that's the language I speak. I need to be able to translate that language though. Otherwise, it's like the Tower of Babel. Like, everyone spoke a language, and then all of a sudden everyone spoke a different language. And everyone's like, well, I don't know your language, so I'm going to go speak Chinese over here, and I'm going to go speak Indian over here, which I think Indian is English. I'm going we're going to go speak Australian over here. Anthony, same problem. I'm going to go speak New Zealand over here. Anthony, stop it, right? But French over here, Spanish over here, yada, yada, yada. So I need to be able to translate it. And that's always been the challenge. And I'm finding, actually, by many avenues that life offers, that I could almost say that the #1 solution to the world is like communication. Like, Ant, we don't need you to say that. But like, if you could, apparently I live in Harlem. Anyway, but if you were able to just go ahead and communicate what you believed in a concise manner that the person listening to you could understand what you believe, why you believe it, then it's good. It almost goes back to the hostage negotiator, Chris Voss. He's like the most widely known, definitely the most successful. And what he posited was the key to hostage negotiation is not convincing the person of something. It's to allow them to feel that you have heard them, that you know why they did it. The belief being the person that's doing taking the hostages knows it's wrong, but the reason they're doing it is worth dying for. Like, their life is presumably not all rainbows and puppy dogs, and now they found something that they're willing to die for, which gives their life meaning. That divinity in their life, whether we believe it for a good reason or a bad reason, they posit as a divine, this is my calling. Their calling is their reason. Therefore, if you understand their reason, they no longer need to die for it. Now dying for it is actually hurting people willingly and or committing suicide. And I'm not sure he went that deep into it. I think I just ran with the last bit of it because there is a certain Trinity, divinity, there's stuff that I'm thinking of. Psyche, yeah, no, Dan, Never Split the Difference is one of my favorite books. But what he had posited was they want you to, they're disarmed by you understanding why they're doing what they're doing. Translation of things, where we need to be able to translate TED language into regular person language, where anybody can come up to it and say, oh, I see what you're doing. I see how I once had these fears. I have these empty buckets. There is no widely assumed, agreed upon base case of AI. So I have my fears, I have my visions, I have my buckets, and I have my self appreciation, like my self centeredness, which is fine. It's survival of self, right? Everyone should be self centered, and I know that sounds odd, but I've always believed if everyone is self centered, the world goes quite well because everyone knows everyone's self centered, and your own self centeredness is not just, people often confuse self-centeredness with like malevolence. It's not the same thing. Like, for instance, if I say, for instance, Dan, who's like one of the most impressive people you could ever meet, and I hire Dan to Rhino, and I go, Dan, I want you to do 100 hours a week of work. You're going to do this, and we're going to split everything 50-50. And Dan's like, yes, cool, woohoo, I always want to be part of Rhino. Well, I'm being very self-centered, right? Not really. And if I'm being dumb, because there is going to be a point where Dan says, I'm doing all of the work. Not only am I doing all the work, but I learned everything you did. I don't need you to do 50-50. In fact, I could do what I've learned here and get 100% over here. Meaning I now lost a key team member and I've created a competitor. And I have an empty spot and I haven't been updated with everything that went on. So self-centeredness isn't malevolence. Malevolence is taking advantage of Dan. Self-centeredness is, I need to make sure I give Dan a really good deal, because if I don't, I have to foresee what's going to happen when Dan realizes that he has a bad deal. So it is different. And I always believe if everyone just acted in their own interest, the world would be quite well. The difficulty is people don't actually know what their own interest is. And I know that sounds silly, but people don't really know what they want. In fact, if you ask someone, who are you? But don't tell me your profession and don't tell me your hobbies, they don't even know how to answer that question. Like, a lot of people will say, well, I'm a mother, I'm a father. And being a father, I know what that word means. So I think that's kind of like, let's take those people out of the picture, so to speak, because I don't want to say they're cheating, because that is such a big responsibility. But it is kind of like profession, but not, you kind of see where I'm going with this. So you ask somebody else, they're like, well, no, who are you? Well, no, who, and it goes on and on and on. How do we actually get to a world where people know who they are, people have an understanding of the path that they're going through to reach where they want to be, that they're protecting along the whole way, they're absolutely equal, they believe completely that there is no centralized force that's taking, I'm a grump, yeah, I can tell you Travis is a grumpy old man, but for good reason, right? Like he's like when someone reaches a certain point in life where it's like they're allowed to be grumpy because they did like 10 lifetimes worth of work, that's Travis. But yeah, totally grumpy. It just, when you're able to understand all of that and trust the system, then that's okay. The system's always about who controls it though. Is it controlled by you? Is it controlled by someone else? Or is it controlled in aggregate by everybody? And it being controlled in aggregate by everybody, well, now we're getting somewhere, but like, how do you ever do that? Well, that's what TED solves. Like, that's what TED is trying to solve. And I think that's really what we do solve. Now, the great thing about TED, yada, 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 is that it's not a finished product. We're not sitting here saying, and guess what? We're launching TED tomorrow because we have the patents, we have the idea, we have the, we can see around the corners. Therefore, we're primed to be able to reach a finish line. That finish line is worth oodles and oodles and oodles of money. Between where we are and that finish line offers individuals that understand the finish line to be a part of making oodles and oodles and oodles of money, which means this is by definition the investing time frame. Now, when we first launched Rhino, and everyone here has participated in some fashion, whether it's Rhino Bucks, recurring, blah, 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 which by the way, everything is a ledger. Someone emailed me the other day, I don't have access to my Rhino Bucks. I'm like, you don't want it. Trust me, I know how much is there. We're good. And of course, it's not trust me and like go away. If you ask me the follow-up question, I'll send you the ledger. But if it's a matter of just like, I want to make sure things are safe, they're safe. When I wake up, well, I'm up before the birds start chirping, but when they start chirping, it'd be great if sneezing rhymed with chirping like burping did, because we could have just came up with something, but I digress. So anyway, let's continue. So everyone that's been involved, and I've said since day one, our goal was always to pull back the curtain on what it looks like to actually invest in a startup from the ground floor. And that sounds sexy. It's like when people say to me, oh, you're a business owner, you have it so good. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, being a business owner is quite literally the hardest job in the entire world. Not only are you accountable to everyone, you're the boss of no one. People think I'm the boss. I'm the boss of no one. Right now, Travis, Dan, Tom, Becky could all say, Anthony, guess what? I want XYZ. And I'd be like, oh, I gotta like really figure something out, right? Like everyone has a lever over me. Not only is that, but my ability to keep the boat afloat is completely dependent on that we're correct at all, right? And thank God we've been doing this for like 5 years. It's not like we just did it yesterday. On top of that, not only do we have to be corrective, it actually has to work. It's like, and on top of all that, so take all of that. Well, Ant, you must have some good days, right? No, because when things are going good, they don't need my attention. My attention is only for when things are going bad, which means my day is only figure out the future or fix the past so that the present isn't an embarrassment. That's my day. And people that say, oh, well, my little cousin, she works at McDonald's. She makes, I think, like $15 an hour. She's like 15, 16 years old. Oh, my cousin Ed, because when I was younger, I was so ugly that I looked like Eddie Munster, right? Which I guess is kind of cute, but I was pale and my hair was slicked back and I was a little chunky. So Eddie Munster. So everyone in my family calls me Ed. My cousin Ed, he's so rich. I like, like when they're cute at 15, like, oh, you're so cute. I go, you're like, like, do you know how much money I have to make to get back to zero? Because that's what investment is, right? Like I have obligations to people who believe in me and we're going to reach somewhere. And I very quickly tell her, I go, net worth is an equation. It's not your bank account and certainly not your business bank account. Take a look at my bank account, right? It's how much do you make plus have minus how much you owe equals what you're worth. She goes, well, I don't owe anything. I goes, you don't owe anything? What about your house? Don't you pay rent? No, Ed, I'm 15, I don't pay rent. What about your car? I don't have a car. Well, you have to put gas in the car eventually. What do you save? Oh, blah. I go, so basically your paycheck is your bank account and you owe nothing. She goes, yeah. I go, you're exponentially richer than I. And of course, I'm not going to go into it because she doesn't understand. She's a kid. It was a funny moment that my family laughed at, right? But it's honest. My 15-year-old cousin is exponentially richer than I. So it's like, well, why do you do this? Like you're a business, like what are you doing? Well, because I believe in where we're going. And if I'm correct, then quite literally you save the world. And like that hostage that's taking everyone, which is, it's really odd that there's such similarities to it. Maybe I need to like really check out my brain. But I'm willing to die for that because I know what's going to happen. Now, I'm being silly. Like, obviously, there's no hostage negotiator. It's going to be like, oh, well, you really want to save the world. And all of a sudden, I'm just going to walk away. Well, no, I want to save the world. You got to actually do the things to save the world. But the point being to find something you're willing to die for. Every day is hell. But the goal is that every morning you find yourself in hell. But at the end of the day, you made it through to heaven. Like, that's my goal. Like, that's what my days look like. And to that point, they've been going that way with greater regularity. So anyway, getting back to the video, what I do need from everyone. And it's funny, when I was writing that email, it's like, It's like, is this what people actually do to get like their engagement up and get YouTube to look at them? Oh, comment this, like this, share this. No, I really need you to do that, but not for that stuff. Because I need to know the people that are watching it, and I watched it and I don't understand this. I don't understand this. I have this question. I don't care. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Remember, we're going to be sharing with everyone. So think about the stupidest person you've ever met in your life. We need them to understand what we're doing. And for the people that say, Ant, that's a really hard decision because I've met like 10 that are tied for that title. What a coincidence, right? Just ask any question in the world. Because it's those questions that I'm then going to go through the video. And as you would see in the video, there's some screens, like some, what are they called, transitions or whatnot, where I have words like, oh, Ted's Trinity, universal basic income. In which case the person watching it is like, okay, I know what's about to be presented. Therefore, they don't need to think what's going to be presented. They see what's about to be presented. So for anyone that has questions, there might be some stuff that's not in the video. I don't see how that jump was made. How is anyone else going to see how that jump is made? No, comment on the video, because also there is a social proof that by you doing it, it will allow others to feel comfortable to do it. And not saying that Travis needs, a boot in the butt to do something. But maybe if Travis sees Bill do it, Travis will be like, well, everyone loves Bill, and I'm just a grumpy old man, so I could do it. And then Dan's like, well, look at these two guys, I can do it, yada, yada, yada. So do it there, and again, since it's centralized, I can go through it and check it out. Or Dan, just do it there. I'm gonna save that. Actually, if you could copy and paste that into the YouTube, I really think that would inspire a lot of people, but I will save what you just wrote, thank you. And perhaps a story or fable. Like I had said, I have, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 words written in the concept of Aladdin and the genie, which I really, really want to share. I just don't think it's there. I think it's like at 90%. And so funny, it's like 2,000 words, but it started at 155,000 words. So I'm really getting close, and I think everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's it. Like, so, and especially Dan, because I have different conversations with everyone. Dan's always been one of those that has such a marketing prowess, but from like an intelligent point of view. And I say that because there's impulse marketing where you really are marketing to least common denominator, where you're just saying, hey, bozo, do this or else. You don't want to be like this, and you hold a bunch of money. Some people do that. That's not Dan. Dan's like, well, this will help you because it helped me. We're both quite similar. Let me show you how it works. And then you're like, wow, this is a really respectable guy that if it worked for him, you know what? It makes sense. Let me try it, right? So that's, hey, Deb. So that's the nuts and bolts of our conversation, which is why it's so well written. So please do that, and I'm going to get to it. But to that point, I do think that even you, Dan, will not even you, but I guess this would really, because it's like playful, it's silly, it's like a genie and Aladdin thing. But I think you would be like, whoa, this really hits the mark. So we're getting close. And I want to have that done by today, but at the very least, have it out by tomorrow, because Thursday I do want to open this up. So please, everyone, just comment and ask questions and things like that. So that's that. And then the next steps are interesting, because then we're just going to do a really, really big money raise. So I wanted to do a money raise with large money. Oh, thanks, Dan. Large money centers. So like your hedge funds and your individual investors on a big scale, which we're going to do, but not right away. Because this timeline has gone a little bit longer than I wanted to. Has to work. Oh, I love Frida. Thank you. This timeline has gone a little bit longer than I wanted to. So I do want to bridge from where we are to where we're going, in which case I'm going to do like a book a call type marketing, where we'll open it up, we'll do presentations, all the rest, allow people to understand what's going on, book a call, and then you and I can talk larger numbers. And then we just need a couple of those people, and then we'll do the traveling, like, oh, Anthony's meeting with Elon Musk, right? And I don't say that facetiously. He is the person that I want, and it's not because his name, but because he has everything that we need. First of all, our visions completely align, but it's Starlink that I think is quite special to have guaranteed internet that's not owned by anyone on Earth. It's satellites. I think that's quite special. And plus, he has his own AI that he would like to really grow, and I think we could do that for him. Elon's about an hour for me. Travis, if you could get that meeting, then you know. So, but I really will be going for that meeting. All right, so let me run. I think I kind of crystallized everything. I'm going to get to my emails, the emails that I have not gotten to, I'm going to. You could hear I'm a little stuffy. Again, it's just the pollen. I apologize about that. But please, please, please go on the video. Again, it's 14 minutes. It's 14 minutes. It's 14 minutes. Just listen to it, ask questions, because, and I don't say this to be like an alarmist or an extremist, and I might actually have said those words just for shock value that you listen to my next sentence, because I don't even think they're appropriate. But everything that we've ever done together is this right now. And every time I've ever said, it's not Anthony and Rhino, we're all a team, we're all, ABC, and I've always taken everyone's opinion and advice and always contributed, that's always been true. This is that. So I do need everyone to give me their perspective, because I'm only one person. Therefore, the success and or failure of TED will be your fault. No pressure. It will be your fault, 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 your fault. Let's have fun. Love y'all. Bye.